Hello. I thought it worth making a little video to send around the diocese in view of the shocking events of this last week. In particular, the resignation of the Archbishop of Canterbury, but even more significantly, the truly terrible reports, which is now known as the Makin report. This report is harrowing reading as it gives details of the abuse committed by John Smythe over many years, and indeed the failures of the institution of the Church of England, not only to hold Smythe to account, but indeed to stop him from being able to abuse others, in particular in Africa later in his life. It really is shocking reading, and although I would encourage you to have a look at it, in particular the summary and the recommendations, I would also say please look after yourself as you do read it, because it is difficult reading and you will need people to be able to talk to, people to reflect with as you do take in the level and extent of the abuse. And in particular, of course, our hearts, our minds, our prayers turn towards those who were victims of that abuse, but indeed other victims of abuse committed in church settings who have been triggered by this report with all the traumatic memories flooding back for them. It is a moment of real humbling for the Church of England, a moment when we all need to pause and reflect and think about our own responsibility for safeguarding within our churches. I am particularly grateful to those who work as parish safeguarding coordinators, who I believe do an excellent job in this diocese in ensuring that all reports and allegations do get passed on, but also in ensuring that safeguarding is truly embedded within the culture of our church. I'm also grateful to our diocesan safeguarding advisor and her team, who have been rigorous in holding to me to account and ensuring that safeguarding is taken seriously within our diocese. But as we reflect on these momentous events, it is important that every one of us takes responsibility for safeguarding and that we work together to ensure that our churches, our schools, our fresh expressions of church, our chaplaincies are genuinely safe spaces for all involved. I want to go on to comment just a bit more generally about the life of our diocese at this time, because of course this report lands even as there are major changes going on within the church, and I fully understand how overwhelming this can feel for many people. I have moments myself when I'm overwhelmed by it, and when I cry out to God, why can we just not stop? Can we just not have to go through all these changes? And yet I still believe in my heart, deeply within me, that as a church, we do need to consider how we change and adapt to a very different world. Safeguarding is one area in which we have a lot to learn, and we are going to need significant changes in the future. But also more generally, how we work with children and young people is going to need to adapt and change for the future, as well as, of course, our financial position, our care for our church buildings, our service of the wider society. All these are reasons why we are pressing on with the process of implementing Minster Communities. I know not everybody is convinced about it yet, but by January of next year, every part of the diocese will be involved in conversations about Minster Communities in one way or another. And so I thought it worth just adding a word about Minster Communities, because I know there has been some misunderstanding. So I am encouraged by the early progress on Minster Communities. Even just this last week, I've had meetings with clergy who have started to meet together in their new clusters, if you like, and are finding actually that those meetings can be hugely supportive for our clergy, enabling them to feel less isolated. But they are also opening up new conversations about new areas of mission, whether that's to do with new housing estates or to do with schools and how we serve children and young people. So there are genuinely new opportunities in all of this, even as I know many people are struggling with the scale of the change that is happening. I've been honest in saying that finance is a significant part of this. We're not trying to hide that. But we are running something around a £2 million deficit in the diocese at the moment. And that means some really hard choices for us. And so in particular, I want to make it very, very clear that what we are asking for in Minster Communities is that as churches cluster together, so the money that is given in terms of parish contributions will go directly towards the stipendiary clergy who work in those Minster communities. So I've been saying to a number of people recently, the figure that we're using is 66,000 for the cost of a full-time stipendiary minister. And where churches cluster together and their parish contributions equal 66,000 or more, we will make an appointment of a full-time stipendiary priest. Now, added to that is money we get from the National Church to support lowest income communities. So there are a number of places in the diocese where we're able now to say, if your parish contribution plus the money of lowest income communities comes to more than 66,000, then again there, we will make an appointment within that Minster community. So it is a very direct appeal that we're making to you as part of the Minster community process, that the money that is given through Minster communities will pay for stipendiary clergy in that context. Now, we're hoping as well that we will get additional support from the National Church, particularly for work with children and young people. So I've spoken on a number of occasions before about our hopes for growing faith and working with schools as we seek to raise up a new generation of Christian disciples and indeed Christian ministers for the church. Again, I'm hugely encouraged by the way so many churches have been taking that seriously. And indeed, in a number of places, we have new work that has started up even before we've received any money from the National Church for this. But it is our hope that as we pilot these new initiatives around growing faith and intergenerational ministry, so in time the National Church will add money to that such that we can roll it out across the whole diocese. This, for me, is at the core of what we're trying to do with Minster communities, to ensure that children and young people can grow up with a knowledge of all that God has done for them in our Lord Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters, this is why safeguarding and our day-to-day work in the life of the diocese go hand in hand. These are not two separate things, but rather they sit together, because everything we do comes under the heading of safeguarding. And everything we do is an expression of God's love for every unique individual that God has created. So please don't see Minster communities and safeguarding as two separate things to talk about, but I hope we can merge them together. And I hope together we can recommit ourselves again to express the love of God in our own communities, both through our work of safeguarding and through our work with schools and with children and young people in helping them to grow up in the faith. This comes with my sincere thanks to you all for all that you're doing, and my prayers for you as we arrive soon at the season of Advent. It is a season of hope, a season of longing for God to come into this world, to be involved with us in our day-to-day lives. I pray that even as we experience the challenge of these new safeguarding revelations, so also we will be renewed in our hope to go on working for God's kingdom to come here on earth as in heaven. Thank you.